Hello, welcome to Genesis chapter 21. We are going to talk about laws concerning slaves. The importance and why it's important to look at these things is because skeptics like to charge the Bible incorrectly, I think, or unjustly, saying that the Bible condoned slavery. In fact, it was supporting, there's laws, but we are going to see that it is not as simple as that. So verse 1 says, chapter 21, verse 1, "Now these are the rules that you shall set before them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and in the seventh he shall go out free for nothing." So slavery was indentured servitude, which means if you had no means to live, if you got into debt and there was no way to get out of it, you became a slave. Now, you could only be an indentured slave for 6 years. And why it's interesting or important to know that if you think about it, today, if you declare bankruptcy, if you lose all your money, you see people begging on the streets because they lost everything. And it happened a lot, especially in Hungary, for example, or other European countries where there were no people didn't get any financial support from the government during COVID. People lost everything. And imagine standing up or getting up while you're down. It's impossible, I think, in today's society, or at least it's extremely hard. But then, back in the days, you only had to be a servant for 6 years. And in the 7th year, you could go and you were free. You had no more debt. Because as it says, you shall go, the servant was supposed to go free for nothing. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. But if the slave plainly says, "I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free," then his master shall bring him to God, and he shall bring him to the door or the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall be his slave forever. This actually is it shows or points to Christ. Now why? Because Christ is seen as sort of as a slave, as a servant. And we're going to see later that the price of a dead slave is going to be 30 silver, which is incidentally the amount of money was paid for Jesus Christ. And the other thing is, think about it. Jesus said he loves his wife, the church, and his children. And he said that he'd rather become a slave and give his life for them than be free. So essentially, it's a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ. Verse 7, "When a man sells his daughter as a slave, he shall not go out as the male slaves do." So again, you're talking about indentured servitude. Now, if the father was losing all his money or went into debt, he was able to sell his daughter as a slave. And again, I don't think it's a nice thing to do, but even in today's society, you see it happen in Africa, India, even in Asia, in the Far East, in the Oriental East, they do these things. But verse 8 is interesting. "If she does not please her master, who has designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has broken faith with her." So she was not supposed to be sold as a slave to someone else, but also if the slave does not please the master, and interestingly, there are other translations where it says that as a wife, if she doesn't please the husband as a wife, we're in verse 7. Yes. So you couldn't So in verse 8, you're talking about a wife in other translations, right? And the interesting thing is that I've read this in a book, that the one of the reasons they did these things was to protect the woman, because back in the days they didn't have unions for women. They didn't really have a means for women to make a living, because they were supposed to be home and tend for the things that or deal with things that are supposed to be done at home. Now, if the woman wasn't supposed to be let go like that. She was supposed to be protected by giving her money. Therefore, she was protected. She would have a means to live. If he designates her for his son, he shall deal with her as with a daughter. If he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, or her marital rights. And if he does not do these three things for her, she shall go out for nothing without payment of money. So, if you think about the story of Jacob, Leah, and Rachel, that is exactly what it tries to avoid, because Jacob loved Rachel, but he was given Leah. So, and he mistreated Leah, therefore God didn't allow Rachel to bear a child, or stop her from becoming pregnant. In the Bible, if you look at the stories where somebody marries more than one woman, you could see that there's troubles there, left, right, center. Yet the Bible, God makes provision when these things happen. The other interesting thing is, Bible does not support polygamy, because when Jesus was asked in Matthew about divorce, he said in the beginning God created male and female, and the man was supposed to leave the parents, the family, and become one flesh with the wife. So originally it was one man and one woman, but he said because of the hardness of your heart, God allowed you to do these things. Therefore we can see that if when we carry on, how these laws are not as crazy as they may seem. Amen.